I mean, we can still talk. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you guys do.
We're live, Larry.
Okay.
Oh, I'm done. Sorry.
We're live on YouTube right now.
Okay. I guess in today's day and age, it's good to be alive, Judah. That's great. You never know when
Yeah.
it will end. And I guess that's our first topic of this edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. We're going to be going to a new digital format. And of course, we'll have the music, we'll have everything else, but we were very busy this week. So we're doing this rough and dirty just to get some information out quickly. And I want to talk first about what's been going on with regard to the anti-Semitism on college campuses. There's been a lot of questions raised as to who is financing this. And I think there's a dirty little secret here. In fact, I know it. The FBI knows who's financing it, and it's likely George Soros. There's some indication of that today, came out on Fox News, but they're covering it up because, of course, Soros finances a lot of leftist organizations and enterprises that are very favorable to people like Joe Biden. But if you tell me that the FBI can't figure out who's financing it, we're in a lot bigger trouble than I think we're in. And it's remarkable. Of course, they don't know really what happened in Wuhan. They don't know anything. They only know that they want to arrest peaceful protesters on January 6th and throw them in prison. That's their focus, as terrorists now are in fact taking control of college campuses and running across the southern border. Judah, comments?
I mean, listen, I think you're 100% right. Uh, I think this is people like Soros, and I mean, I'll take it a step further. I think when we witness what's gone on in the last 3.5, 4 years, 6 years, 7 years, all the events, right, Larry? And if you take each one, it's just an event. When you compound all these events that are going on at the same time, it's just not coincidental. And I'll go down you know me very well, and I've never been one to have the tinfoil on, but I don't believe I am being conspiratorial about what's right in front of our eyes. I'm talking about, you think about all that's gone on, Larry, in the last five since Trump. We've had fake dossiers, we've had COVID, we've had letting the WHO take over our medical system. We've had Fauci, obviously. We've had impeachment. We've had rigged elections. We've had uh, what's going on, obviously, on the college campuses. We've had Trump for lawsuits. Put those all together, Larry. That's a lot of stuff to go on in a 5 year period, 6 year period.
Oh, absolutely. And it's more to come. We've got
Yeah.
international crises galore that are spiraling out of control. We've got a
I
president.
forgot. Right.
We got a president who's brain dead, who's, as Trump says, and he's being kind. Can't put two sentences together. It's a lot worse than that, even. We've got leftists that have infested the entire administration. We've got Republicans in Congress who don't do their job, who just parade around, for show, promising impeachment. Of course, that doesn't happen with Biden or anybody else. And the country's out of control. And worst of all, we have federal judges in particular who are corrupt to the core, who were put there with campaign contributions, otherwise known as legalized bribery, but it's really not legal in the general sense of the word. Who knows what else greases it to get them there? And without that, we are in a revolutionary mode. And then, of course, if you want confirmation about the state of our legal system, which is not equipped and won't protect the American people, look at what's happening to President Trump in New York this week with this ridiculous trial concerning hush money. And ironically, I have to laugh too, because coming out with the wash, so to speak, coming out in the wash, are a number of other people who were paid on their behalf hush money to keep their scandals secret, whether it's Tiger Woods or Rahm Emanuel or many others. That the National Enquirer buried the stories by buying the individuals who most likely were trying to extort money, or in fact had legitimate information that these politicians and others didn't want out. So this is the state of affairs. The American people, if there's a silver lining, can now see what I've been saying now for many years, that our legal system is corrupt from top to bottom, and that the judges, generally speaking, particularly on the federal bench, they're many good federal judges, state judges that I encounter, because they're elected and they can be removed. Not the two, of course, that handled Trump's cases in New York City, the bastion of socialism and communism. But this is the problem: is at least the American people are starting to see just how bad the legal profession is. In my view, the most corrupt profession in the United States, and that's from personal experience. I'm the anti-lawyer. I fight against this with lawyers and corrupt judges. That's why I founded Judicial Watch in '94. It's why I do what I do. So anyway, that's my thought. That's my 2 cents for today, Judah.
A hell of a lot of sense. Don't forget that. But I'm happy you brought up all the other things that I forgot that have gone on in the last, obviously with the wars and everything, the way we left Kabul, everything combined. And you bring up such a good point, and I haven't really heard anybody bring this up, and I will bring it up here first, Larry. Are you ready for this? People have brought this up in a certain way, but the National Enquirer, right, which nobody ever really took seriously, paid for the stories, right? They paid for the stories. Whoever paid for them, by the stories were paid to be. How many stories have the media picked up on, have not picked up, kill stories that they didn't get paid for by the Democrats?
That's true.
How,
I'll put in my 2 cents on one point. The National Enquirer did not ever always. Got up early yesterday, so I'm a little bit tired. But their stories are not always wrong. Okay, frankly, they're more accurate than the Washington Post or the New York Times. I got to tell you that, honestly. Yeah, they sensationalize things, they embellish things, but they're not always wrong. Now, maybe the Globe, another newspaper tabloid that's owned by the same people, is kind of way out there, but the National Enquirer is not always wrong.
no, but that's how it, take that aside, whether they're right or wrong. They're openly admitting to listen, in the industry, right? There's always two secrets, right? To get a good story, news organizations often pay to get those stories, right? They pay to get the first person, right? So that's reality. Whether they air it or not, who knows? But what the media has done with the Bidens and obviously with so many Democrats is they've done a bunch of kill stories. They just don't pay for it. And that's the amazing thing about this is I don't even know what the issue is, Larry. I mean, you're what the hell is the issue? So he paid for they bought a story and killed it. So what?
There was a poll that I saw. I don't always watch Fox News. I watch them all, so I can be critical. But there was a story today that 40% of the American people, according to a Fox poll, this is Fox, think that these allegations are very serious. So Trump has a lot of work to do to convince them they're not. And you and I differ on this, I know, but that could be enough with the fraud that the Democrats clearly are going to perpetrate again to swing the next election. And by the way, the frightening part is I've been predicting that Gavin Newsom is going to be the next president because people vote on the basis of appearance, and he's a good-looking guy. He goes both ways, so he can appeal to gays and straights. And the fact is that this guy is completely Looney Tunes. In the last few days, he wants to abolish Clear at airports, which I use so I can go through the line quickly, because it's not fair to those people who can't afford Clear. Clear is not even that expensive. I think maybe it costs $150 a year. But hey, he's going to make sure that doesn't exist in California. He won't succeed. The courts will shoot him down even in California. I mean, to destroy a private company like that. But this guy's a Looney Tune. And the fact that Trump is being beaten up now in this case could very well put Gavin Newsom as the next president.
Really stuck on that Gavin Newsom thing. But by the way,
Biden's not going to make it to November. He's not going to make it. Okay.
By the way, just so you know, the actual polling, I'm surprised when you said that to me because I would have thought the polling would have been higher. That I thought it would have been 50% that would have said at least that it's a real conviction. So I'm actually surprised that the number's 40%. That's actually very good in Trump's favor, that 60% don't think this is a real case. Because when you think about it, Larry, everything has become 50-50 at best, especially when it comes to Trump. With Trump, we're usually referring to 42%. So that 60% of people don't think this is a real case It's not. It's actually pretty good. I would say numbers wise for Trump. And I'm looking at the polling. You know, I look at the constant polling of the swing state polling. It's looking great. I don't want to say it's looking great, but I'd rather be in Trump. I'd rather be Trump right now than Biden.
Well, I think anybody rather be
Yeah,
somebody else
right.
than Biden. I mean, the guy he's dead. He's the walking
Right.
dead. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the Democrats want to get rid of him too. I mean, the other day, if you can believe this, CNN ran a story at how many lies that Biden's been telling on a daily basis. And that's amazing for the Communist News Network to do that. They want him gone. They know that he's a huge albatross around their neck. And even if it's still close in terms of the polling today, I mean, anybody could beat Biden at this point, probably anybody. But the Democrats are going to move him out. Either he'll die of his own uh, volition, so to speak, or they will move him out. And that is the risk. And of course, I don't tell people who to vote for. I don't as head of a public interest group. You can probably figure out who I vote for. But if we go another 4 years with another Democrat, leftist Democrat, that's about the life expectancy of this country that's left. We'll be
Well, I
gone.
want to ask you a question now. I mean, because I know you think about this a lot, and I think about this quite a bit too. And I've raised it on your show before what the day after looks like, because we're witnessing what we're witnessing now is what 6 months before, 8 months out, if there is a new presidency, we're witnessing terrorism. And people really need to understand terrorism, right? Because I don't think people understand that word fully. They think, oh, it's an attack, Larry. That's people's idea of terrorism. But they forget the terror part of it that's caused by it. So you take people, we have people in America right now who say, I am Hamas, right? So you're a terrorist, right? Let's take that out of the equation. Their goal is to put fear into the American public, right? That's the goal of terror. That if you disagree, you'll get arrested if you're a conservative. That's terrorism, right? If you disobey with the science, terrorism. That's terror because you're fearful of losing things, right? Conservatives can't go to rallies, right? What happened the last time we went to a rally, Larry? People got 30 years in prison. People are setting up camps on campuses with Hamas tents, Larry, with a with a terrorist organization, and they get
That's
a night in the
unreal.
and they get a night in the clink. Think
And
about that.
I was very happy to see that my alma mater for law school, Emory, had the guts to remove them. This is the first time it's happening, and I'm proud of my alma mater for having done that. But it's absurd. It's become an event. They're having a good time. They're financed. They get probably catered food. They have these nice tents they can sleep in. They're probably fornicating in those tents. There'll probably be a lot of babies that are born during this period. We'll have a lot of terrorist babies that are out there. I remember, by the way, I'm not joking. When I was a kid at Duke, and the freshman year, I went up to Washington D.C. For the demonstrations. I just observed because I was not at that point against the Vietnam War, although I began to become against it, seeing what was going on and loss of life for no good reason. But literally, in that age, you had people having sex right on the National Mall and out of control. And we're headed in that direction again. There's no control, there's no decorum, there's no emphasis on Judeo-Christian values. Anything goes. That's what the left is trying to do. It dumbs down everything, teaching kids to, perverted styles of life, and they're breaking down every aspect of society. But there's a difference between what happened with the Vietnam War, which was a reaction to a war, and this one is a reaction, an anti-Semitic reaction to eliminating the state of Israel and frankly, to have a second Holocaust. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I think listen, you're 100% right. This is we're witnessing, and I've asked this question. I'm also reading the comments on your YouTube channel, so hello. What we're witnessing, and I asked Ben Stein this week. I asked a few people that we all respect, and I respect you. Obviously, I respect your acumen on all this stuff. And I said, has it ever been worse in American history for Jews? And each person said the same thing to me initially, other than Ben, who actually thought about it for a second and then said, no, no. And other people brought up the 20s or 30s when we weren't allowed into clubs. But from that grew so much from not being allowed. Well, what we're witnessing now, Larry, is I can't go on a college campus with this on. I'm not able to go into a college campus with this on. If I do go into a college campus with
Hey,
this
you want
on,
one of mine? I got a cross with a Star of David on it. Maybe that'll cushion it for
but either way,
you. I'm
Larry,
a Jewish Christian.
we're right at that point. We're asking for a double knockdown. We know the police aren't going to come.
That's a good point, because you know what? For people think this is only geared to the Jews, the Christians are next. Okay, they're next in line right now, and of course the biggest friends of the Jewish people and of Israel are the evangelicals, more than they are friends with the left. If there's another silver lining, lots of silver linings, we're trying to be positive today, is that those people on the Jewish left, who are essentially atheists, they're essentially Marxists, generally speaking, they're learning that they're not exempt. And what's interesting, the dean of Berkeley Law School, Edwin Chemerinsky, who I know is a very nice man, I would consider him even a friend. We have fought anti-Semitism in the past. In fact, having started Judicial Watch years ago, it was a Judge William D. Keller in the Central District of California that pushed me over the edge. It caused me to start Judicial Watch. He's an anti-Semite, and he came against me and my clients and my gay clients. I had some gay clients too that were there, and a Chinese client. But the left is getting their comeuppance now. And Chemerinsky threw a party for the recent graduates of Berkeley Law School, and he was threatened. They busted up his event at his house. And this guy is very, very left. Okay, so they're learning that they're not exempt. And I'm not saying that Edwin did, because he's a good guy, but the left has created this condition. And now it's coming back to bite them in the rear end, so to speak.
I think that's an exceptional point. Like I often say, it's the left thought they could. The best way I say it is they thought they could control burn a segment of their population, of their constituents. Okay, many blacks. They thought they could do a control burn on them for a long time, right? And we give you this, we give you this, we hold you here, and you're ours. And what they didn't realize during the summer of love, what we realized was there was a fire that was happening. And all of a sudden, you started seeing the squad members. The left started believing what Twitter was telling them, that if you had a fan base on Twitter, you were somehow important. And they didn't put out the fire when they could have. And their party is engulfed right now by the
They
AOCs,
have
by the
created a monster.
squads.
They have created a monster. It's like
Yeah.
the Red Russians and the White Russians after the Russian Revolution. They started fighting with each other, and they will start fighting with each other, these leftist groups, to gain power, because they are acquiring power. They have more power than conservatives today, much more power. They control the White House. They control the Senate. They control the media primarily. We are living in a virtual dictatorship. And once they get total control, which is what they want to get, they will start fighting with each other. Kind of like the Ayatollahs in Iran, when they took over, were fighting with the Mujahideen for control. And the Mujahideen were just almost as bad as the Ayatollahs. Unfortunately, they didn't take care of each other, and they both continued on. But that's the irony. There's no honor among thieves. And the left has created a monster which will destroy them too. But it's also going to destroy this country if we don't do something about it quickly as a
And that
whole.
was going to be my question to you is, even if Trump gets in, what does he do? Does he invoke martial law?
He's going to have to, because you pointed it out in one of our shows a few weeks ago. If Trump wins by some miracle, given the fraud that the Democrats are good at pulling off in major cities, this country is going to go up in flames, and it's going to be the left that ignites it. And that's why I urge people in self-defense with our Second Amendment to arm up, to get ready for this. because it's going to be vicious. And anybody walking down the street with a Trump T-shirt or even an American flag is going to be a target. It's going to be target practice.
By the way, I just have to say one thing for the YouTube censors. In no way did I say that the election there was any impropriety. And in no way did I say there was any impropriety with the science of COVID. It was all 100% legit.
Yeah, I know you really mean that. Yeah.
To the YouTube censors, it's very
Yeah.
important that you
But
know
yeah, it's very
that
important that we know. There's never been fraud in the entire history of the United States. Never has happened. Everything is copacetic. Everything's cool. Joe Biden was elected legitimately. His wife's a lovely person. The
yeah.
money they took from China was just a mirage. It was just it was just a pipe dream. He never took millions and millions of dollars. Hunter was not a drug addict. He didn't watch child porno. None of this ever happened, really.
Yeah.
Never
No,
happened.
we're crazy. I mean, like, to even
Yeah,
think that, you'd have to be crazy. I
right.
mean, so you know, to think that stuff, you'd have to be out of your mind. So YouTube censors, just know that that's where we stand. And you know, I don't want Larry to have 60 episodes pulled like I
They're
had
not, they're
60
not going to pull it.
episodes.
They tried that once, and I threatened to sue them, and they know I'm serious about it. I've sued them more than once. They're not going to do that if they're
You
smart.
got luckier than me.
But one thing that is true is that we should have many more subscribers than we have. They put a governor on that. It's limited. It's staying at 77,000. And that's the little game they play behind your back. So we all know that. And the American people will find a way to communicate, if we have to do it even by word of mouth at some point. Hey, we can be just like Hamas, right? I'm joking. So maybe we can make tunnels and we can live in tunnels. I mean, given what's going on right now. And in fact, there are a lot of people, given the state of the country, a lot of wealthy people I read recently who are building bomb shelters because, you know, the likelihood we are way overdue. I hate to be Debbie Downer. We're way overdue for a nuclear accident or an accidental detonation of an atomic bomb. Too many countries have them now. Probably terrorist groups have them as well. For a long time, when the Soviet Union fell, there was a lot on the black market that could be purchased. And I believe that Iran already has it. And it may explain why Israel still has cold feet to do what it should have done a long time ago. The United States as well, to take out that nuclear program. They had a golden opportunity recently when 300 missiles were sent into Israel. And again, Netanyahu, big mouth, but no action. And they did virtually nothing. So the fact that they're in the deep, you know what, right now, they brought it in large part upon themselves.
Well, listen, you bring certain things on yourself, but you know, obviously,
Talking
what
about
happened.
Iran. I'm talking about Iran, not
Oh,
Hamas and what happened with hostages and the
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
And
No, but
the
no, you raise it. Listen, you raise a great point. I mean, look at what's going on around, and this is what I constantly try to say to people. I've you've been pro with the Ukraine, and I haven't always been on the same page as you with that. And I'm not pro Ukraine, and I really need to rephrase that because many in the Ukraine are some evil sons of bitches, and they have been for a very, very long time as far as their ideology and
that's
their
why my
belief.
grandparents fled Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, they're just some of them are many of them are stone cold Nazis, and walls falling down. That's the biggest mistake we make as a country, is we think because a wall fell down, all of a sudden people change, right? Berlin Wall fell down. Everybody's getting Jordache jeans. You don't change 2,000 years of inbred hate with a wall falling down. There's some real sickness on that part of the world. The scary thing is, where does Russia go next? And
Well,
we
and
know
that helps explain why there's little effective opposition in Russia. The Russian people have always been governed by dictators, or whether it was the Tsar or whether it's now Putin. They want to be told what to do.
yeah.
That's their nature, and that mentality continues on. And you would think at this point, Russia losing, several 100,000 troops and many more wounded, that there would be more of an opposition in Russia. notwithstanding the censorship. But there isn't, because they're historically trained to have somebody rule over them. And it's
Great
sad.
point.
It's sad. But that's why we need to do it for ourselves. But the big problem with the Ukraine is, and I was in favor of the aid, but on the other hand, if you're going to give them aid, give them something that they can win. We've never done that. This is just a war of attrition. This is going to continue on probably for a decade, like our war in Afghanistan. And it's going to drain the United States and everybody else. And the Europeans should be anteing up a lot more than they're anteing up right now, and give them lethal weapons that they can get the job done, to get it over with.
No, listen, I think listen, you're either in or you're out, right? I mean, right now that our foreign policy is foot in the pool, foot out of the pool. Pick. And that goes to a whole other thing of why people are so skeptical, I believe, Larry, is because there hasn't been any transparency with this. Obviously not. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows where the aid's going to. And I think I think people in the United States deserve to
Yeah,
know.
it's true. Well, I have a friend over there, Igor, I forget his last name, young kid, really nice kid. He's like me. He's a Messianic Jew. He's a Jewish Christian over there, and he used to come on our show a lot. And he was very pro in what was going on. Proud that Zelensky has a Jewish descent, but he has become disillusioned too. Last time I talked to him several months ago, he recognized the corruption, the graft, the American money is being used in an inappropriate way, but you can never avoid that. So to the extent that we give them aid, we shouldn't give them money. We should just give them the material that they need to win. Kind of like, when you see a homeless person, you don't give them money. He's just going to go out and buy alcohol or buy drugs. Just give them some food. I'll tell you a funny story. Years ago, in Beverly Hills, when I was there, I went into Starbucks, and I came out, and there was a homeless person there, an African American guy. I said, "Would you like some coffee?" He says, "I don't drink that shit. What are you talking about?" And then there was another guy, another African American guy, walked out of Crate and Barrel, and he says, "Thank you for shopping at Crate and Barrel." This is Beverly Hills, So, it's you don't get if you give people something, you give it to them in kind, basically, and not cash. Okay. So whether it's Beverly Hills or whether it's Ukraine, it's not a good idea.
No, I mean, listen, here's the reality. We don't have a border here. And it's gonna be an extremely selling this to the American people. And I don't just believe this is conservatives, to a lot of people that we're giving, which is nothing for us. We print money at this point. 60 billion means nothing. The way this government and every government has printed money. The fact that we don't have a border and that nothing was for the border really bothers a lot of people, and I understand it. And until that is shored up, I don't think you're going to ever get a big, especially the Trump base, having anything wanting to do with the Ukraine. They can't reconcile the two things in their head.
Well, I don't know. That's a creation of Tucker Carlson, who's one of the most two-faced people I've ever met. I know people are not going to like me to say this, but
No, he is. I agree with you.
I had
Larry's not,
experience with Tucker. He's not a conservative. He's an opportunist. He goes where he thinks he can get, traction. I remember years ago at Judicial Watch, I used to go on Crossfire at CNN, and he was one of the hosts. Crossfire was, you had somebody on the right, somebody on the left, and you debated. And he came after me for suing Clinton. And he's the first one that did a profile about me at Judicial Watch, which was a hit piece. He did it for Time magazine. But, Tucker is very, very smart. I give him credit. He uncovers things that are very valuable. But Tucker's whatever Tucker needs to be. He's not a man of great principle. But yet he serves his purpose because he is intelligent and he does reveal things that are important.
I agree with you 100%, and it's not hearsay. And you're 100% correct. He's not a solid citizen. Let's just
he
say
picked an issue with the Ukraine and it got traction. And Laura Ingraham, same thing. Okay, and whatever you think about Biden, he did invite Russia into Ukraine, said, okay, just take a little peace, no problem. But we have a problem right now, and I don't think it's inconceivable that Putin wants to take back what was once the Soviet Union. I believe that's what he wants to do. So we can't allow that to happen. But they're doing it in a way that it's likely to happen because we're not giving the Ukrainians enough to win the war. It's just enough, to make it appear that we're doing something.
Well said, Larry.
Anyway, I
Klayman.
know that you got to go. I got to go. We'll be back, and we'll do this frequently because we're now digital. We can do it whenever we want. We're not dependent on any radio station, and we're going to spruce it up and make it much more professional. But today we wanted to get some information out to you. I hope you will go to freedomwatchusa.org, contribute with tax-deductible contributions. We need your help. We are your Justice Department. We're fighting for the J6 peaceful protesters and others. And you have no Justice Department as far as the Biden administration is concerned. And I would submit that even if Trump wins the election, you're not likely to have one then either, because we can see what the Justice Department did to him when he was president. They stabbed
And
him.
doing now.
They stabbed him in the back. So we'll be back next week with another edition. We'll be back before that. Thank you for listening to us. Remember that God will only help us if we help ourselves. Thank you, Judah, for joining us. You're very intelligent and knowledgeable and persuasive, and you're a great host. And also, Judah has a show with Ben Stein called, what's it called again?
The World According to Ben Stein. My
World
God.
According to Ben Stein. I got up at 3:00 the last 2 days, so I'm a little
No,
slow.
you're allowed, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
God bless you.
We'll be back shortly, and thank you for our listeners and viewers to tune in. We enjoy being able to speak to you.